This week, we're going to be rigging and animating your bird models. I'd like to just give you an introduction to what you will basically have as a kind of end product here, and what I have as a kind of loop of an animation that is that I have set on this bird. So I'm going to stop the animation. Down here is the animation timeline. This is the time slider. And in order to create a flight cycle, we are working right now in 24 frames per second. This is something that we can set here in our animation preferences. That's down here, this little running man with a gear at the bottom, almost the very bottom right icon. And here we have a frame rate of 24 frames per second. And we can set some other parameters here. We also have the ability to set them here. So we have our playback start and end. It starts at frame 1 and ends at frame 24, which means I have 1 second of animation in my flight cycle. And the animation start and end is also from 1 to 24. So it depends on how long that flight cycle is going to be, is going to determine how long you're going to set your playback and animation start and end. But it's going to be rather fast. So I would at least have 1 second and make it so that it's a looping animation. Another important thing down here is that our playback speed can be play every frame as long as our max playback speed is 24 frames per second. We don't want it to go faster than what our actual frame rate is. So I would go ahead and be setting your animation for at least a second, and then we have a kind of loop. Now I have some display layers here. We have our outliner with our objects in the scene. We have 3 different meshes, left eye, right eye, and the bird mesh itself. And then I have a joint hierarchy. I've put all of the joints here on this joints display layer by just adding this display layer. And what this does is it's just another tool to organize the things in your scene, so you can either turn on or off visibility for them, or turn on and off, like restricting you being able to click on them. So in order to see these joints, let's turn them on here. Let's hit V. Now you can see them. I can also hit 4 and look at the wireframe inside this bird. And then I don't want to be able to necessarily select the mesh here. So in my display layer, I'm going to turn this to R so we can kind of see. So we can see inside, and we are able to click on the joints. What you see when I've clicked on these joints, I'll play through this timeline again, is we have a rotation of the joints. The skeleton, the mesh itself has been skinned to this skeleton rig, and the rig has keys set. And you can see them here in red. We can toggle back and forth in the time slider here to the beginning of this playhead, the end of the playhead, and then we can click through the keys. So there's a key at frame 1, one at 12 point. This should basically be at 12, and then 1 at 24. Okay, and what we have set keys here are a number of the joints have rotation values set. We can also see it in the channel box. I have rotation values for rotate X, Y, and Z. Those rotation values, if we like zoom in on the bird, that's what is being keyed here, and that's what's creating this flight cycle. So I'll show you how to build this next. Now this rig is a very simple, basic rig, and you have both this rig and a more complicated rig that I will be building in the upcoming videos. You have access to both of these as files that you can look at. So this very basic rig is something that you can, if you get this far by the end of the week, and you don't have to go through the process of putting an entire control rig, which includes controllers that are curves that you can then animate. This is a basic rig, and this is just fine as a place in order to animate, because our final animation looks this will be great to export, and this would be this animation quality, and just having just the joint skeleton, that's okay. So if you don't want to get into actually creating the whole control rig, that's fine with me. But let me go ahead and show you in the next video how to set keys and how to animate, and I'll also introduce you to the more complicated control rig, which I do show you how to build in the upcoming videos for this week.